thank all of you for joining me today with Nicole DeMaio and Jeanine Moss. They are the founders of Outfront Solutions. They are accomplished marketing executives. They're focused on helping entrepreneurs launch their businesses, grow their businesses, and they are turnaround experts. And today they're going to talk about unboxing growth, branding, marketing, and sales hacks for entrepreneurs. And I'm Linda Fisk. I'm the CEO of Leadership Global. And I got to tell you, I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you to today's program. So this is going to be tailor-made for you if you are an entrepreneur, an intrapreneur, or a visionary, because Nicole and Jeanine will increase the power and marketability of your products, your ideas, and help open doors and close deals. So be sure you're paying attention, grab your notepad, grab your pen, and get ready, because we are going to map the path to success with growth strategies that help you nail revenue goals, increase valuation, raise the next round of funding, or find the path to exit your business. With that, let me welcome Jeanine and Nicole. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here.
Yes, yes. Good morning. Oh, Linda, I love how you introduce. It's so exuberant. And you're like a shot of coffee in the morning. So thank you for your beautiful energy and for creating Leadership Global. It's really such an incredible community. And we're just grateful to be with you all this morning. So thank you for taking the time. We are not only going to be talking through this next 90 minutes, we're going to invite you to participate. We have an exercise and we have plenty of time for Q&A. So we see this as a conversation, and this also is a series. So Unboxing Growth is a series, and we're going to continue doing this on the last Fridays, or the schedule is all on Leadership Global. So I'm really excited to be with you and take this journey together. So a little tiny bit more about Jeanine and I, and why are we qualified to take you on this journey? Well, we have been entrepreneurs ourselves. We have built a number of companies of our own, including Outfront Solutions, our consulting firm, and we've raised over almost $500 million alongside of our clients or for our own businesses. So we understand this growth journey very, very closely. We've also been career marketers, and we call ourselves CMOs, Chief Marketing Officers on Demand. So that's us. And we really, we've been fortunate enough, Jeanine and I have worked together for the better part of 20 years. And that's really unique. On and off, but mostly on, we've worked together to build businesses and IP, and, you know, really we're in love with the quest of building businesses. So it's pretty neat to be on this journey with you, Jeanine, and to do things like this together. One thing I wanted to mention is about our purpose. So we're living our purpose right now in volunteering and teaching this course and guiding and having this conversation with you, because we really we've checked in with ourselves, and we love the quest of advancing women. We love helping you build your businesses, your personal brands, you know, all the way through. It's just something that really is soul fulfilling for us, and that's, you know, good reason why we're here today, is to connect and, you know, help you reach your moonshot goals. That's really when you rise and you flourish, we do too. So just wanted to highlight our purpose as well. I think we can jump into setting the stage for today. So we want you to know that this is an absolutely safe place to discuss your businesses, air your questions, connect with each other. We really feel that it's important that women have a safe place to go, connect, and thrive together. And so we also wanted to share that there's a credo by the How Women Lead organization that we're a part of as well. And we love reading this at the beginning. And we'd like you to join us in this credo. And that is saying yes to helping each other, being fierce advocates of each other, reinforcing her voice when she has something to say. And then a lot of times it's uncomfortable for women, but be unabashedly visible. So that's the foundation that we wanted to set for today. And welcome, and let's jump in.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I want to say, and first of all, hi to everybody, recognize a lot of the names. Thank you so much for joining us, and so glad to be here. But one of the things I just wanted to say based on what Nicole said is that, entrepreneurship can be a pretty lonely journey. And that's why we do feel blessed that we've found each other as partners. But we want this session to be also your opportunity to kind of have a partner and a thought partner in your own development. So when we get to the breakout sessions and we have an exercise, we'll come visit and we can all talk about it and air any questions you have. So one of the things that you see on the slide is there's like a lot of stuff here that's not seemingly marketing, right? So you've got, capitalizing your business, financial models, operations, but we are not typical in our approach to marketing in that we understand, and you might too, a lot of you are very accomplished, and thank you for joining us, but you need to know everything across the organization in order to really do your job. And so we're not going to talk about like operations, what the supply chain looks like, but we're going to talk about operations in regard to marketing and branding. So everything that we talk about is going to be in that context, but across this entire continuum. So what we want to do today, since it's the first workshop that we have, we thought we just kind of covered the entire spectrum. And we're just going to give you tips and suggestions and stuff along the way. And then over the series, we're going to dive in really heavily and specifically into each one of the topics. So let's start with goals. Nicole talked about purpose. To our mind, there are really two kinds of goals that everyone should have. You should have a financial goal, unless you're independently wealthy and you don't care about earning any money. You need to have a financial goal for your business, right? But you also need to have this purpose, right? Because the purpose, Nicole always says, you got to fall in love with your business every day and when you wake up in the morning, right? And you don't fall in love with your business every day by going, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of money today. You fall in love with your business because you're accomplishing something that you super care about. In our case, it's advancing women, but we also have another purpose, which is that we're very influential with our clients about the types of things that they invest in from a marketing perspective. So we also can influence them doing really good things in the world. And we have that mindset, and we're unabashed about it. So, it's also when you have purpose and you express the purpose, you write it down, you know clearly what it is. That's what motivates your partners and your employees and everybody else, because as you know from all the surveys, we're not just all working for money, right? So, with goals, what you wanted to do is what's good about them is they force you to think it through. It's kind of like vacuuming. It's not like you really want to do it, but when you do it, you're so glad that you did. At least that's my personal analogy for it. But goals, it causes you to think through your business. It gives you something to measure, right? And one of the ways that you do that is OKRs and KPIs. I think a lot of people on this call probably know about them. OKRs are objectives and key results, and KPIs are key performance indicators. So objectives are kind of things like position yourself as a coach in the retail industry, right? That might be an objective. And a key result would be, I want to get 5 clients in 3 months, right? So it's quantifiable and you're able to measure it, right? And it's got a period of time. Really super point. You might not know what this is. Oftentimes when you start a business, you don't have a lot of information to be able to say, oh, I know that I can do X, Y, or Z. But it's not at all bad for you to make it up, to make your best guess, which is known as an assumption, right? And assumptions are where you start and what you measure against. So don't be daunted if you're not quite sure what your goals should be. Make some up, start working towards them, and then you'll be able to see how you progress. You will have learned a lot, and that's how you get where you need to go. Another thing I'll just mention about goals is SMART goals. And many of you may have heard of these. SMART is specific, measurable, achievable. The R is relevant, and T is time bound. So if you use those, and maybe Nicole, throw them into the chat. I can already tell because we're partners and we read each other's minds. So she's going to put the SMART goals into the chat. But this is a great way to approach your goal setting. Really, really good. So I'm going to leave goals now because we're just going to touch on these things as we were talking about, and we'll talk about them more in the breakouts. Financial models, right? Why do you need them? What are you going to do with them? So first of all, financial models are kind of that's where you gather all of your assumptions. You've made assumptions about what you want to achieve, but you also have to make assumptions about what it's going to cost you to do it. So let's take the coach example. You've decided you want 5 clients in 3 months, right? But what is it going to take to achieve them, right? Well, you're going to have to spend X amount of time per day. You're going to need certain tools to be able to send to them. You might be using technology tools, so you make assumptions about all of those things, and those things go into the financial model to tell you what's it going to take to achieve them, right? How many sales you have to make, what the average price is that you're going to charge, and what it costs you to deliver the services. A lot of times in service businesses, you tend not to think that it costs you anything. Oh, it doesn't really cost me anything. I just, I'm going to get the 5 clients and it's just my time. But in reality, you have things like Zoom, you have, Slack, you have different tools you're using. You have what's called a run rate. What it costs you to operate every month. And that's kind of the basis of your costs. So let's talk about how to use the financial model in capitalizing your business. And Nicole is a super expert in this. So I'm going to turn her over to her to talk about it.
Yeah, I really don't want to go in too much depth about financial models other than it's a really important decision-making tool, right? And you want to make sure that, as Jeanine mentioned, you have some solid assumptions built into this model. This model reflects your goals and those financial goals. It tracks over time. It's an imperative if you're raising money in venture capital, for example. You need to have a solid financial model. And if you don't know how to create one yourself, there are plenty of professionals out there that are happy to help. And if you need tips on resources for that, we're always happy to connect you. But this, tracks your sales, your cost of goods, all of that, your administrative costs, what have you. And so it's really important that you have a solid financial model that you can base your operational decision making off of, right? And you're fully aware of all that goes into your business from the financial side. Next, I want to talk about capitalizing your business. Now, when you're looking at capitalizing your business, you can raise money via debt. So that'd be things like loans, or equity. So that's things like venture capital. And there's a huge range of ways that you can capitalize your business. And I want to say that even though I wear a hat and I have helped to create a couple of venture capital funds, I always encourage people to try not to raise money. Try to wait before you raise money. A lot of people bootstrap or fund the business themselves, or provide a service that can help fund the business. But when you go to raise your money and capitalize your business, you really want to be thoughtful about who and how and where you're taking that capital, because you are connected to those folks for the duration of your business. So in raising money via loan, you can raise money via debt, and that's loans. There's small business loans. There's, organizations like one that we've invested in, our fund called How Women Invest is invested in Hello Alice. It's an amazing organization that helps small businesses, and they have all kinds of different ways that you can seek capital via loans and capitalization products like that. There's raising money via grants. And so with grants, you're performing a specific task, right, that you've signed up for. And then there's raising money via equity. And that's taking on capital from an investment from friends and family, angel investors, family offices, and then it goes through the continuum of venture capital. And then when you start to get a little bit bigger, you can think about raising money via IPO, or maybe even a SPAC that you've been hearing a lot about. So lots of ways to capitalize your business. Through Leadership Global, I have given other talks on this topic, and am always, again, an open door as you're raising your money, if that's the route you take, to just help guide you along the way. And I do want to point you to How Women Invest as a fund and as an organization, because we train people on angel investing, just understanding more about that, because we want women investing, because we are more likely to invest in other women. And then once we've invested in these female founded and led businesses, women are 6 times more likely to hire other women. So let's all get into the ecosystem. So that's enough about that. And Jeanine, I'll turn it back to you on understanding your audiences.
Okay, so understanding your audience is an enormous undertaking, an enormously detailed thing. We're going to be going into that in our next workshop in August. But what I want to say here about that is that the pandemic really changed an awful lot in regard to how people are, their behaviors, their beliefs, their attitudes, right? And these things are critical to understand for how you market, right? How are you going to connect and engage with your audiences? So you really need to understand them. In our practice, you probably have heard of the 5 Ps in marketing: price, promotion, place, people, and which one am I missing? I'm missing one of the Ps. But what we have come up with is promotion. I forgot that one, the most important, or one of the most important. So we use them as a checklist. We always are thinking in those terms, but Nicole and I, in looking at it, we said, geez, the imperatives have changed quite a lot. The 5 Ps still apply for the beginning when you're setting up your business and building a foundation. But what happens as you move through your marketing plan? And we've come up with the 4 Cs. And those are content, compassion, co-creation, and consistency. And so why do we say that? So one of the reasons, I'm sure you've heard that content is king, right? And the reason content is king is because real people seek real content, not bots, not computers that are just open on people's screens, but real people. That's why content has become so important in the marketing realm. Compassion is because we all need it for ourselves. We need it for each other, and companies. We know that the Supreme Court made companies people a while back, but companies are now required by us, by consumers, to act more human and to express their values and to express what they believe in. So being compassionate is really important. Nicole and I also are huge believers in co-creation, and that means engaging your customers in creating whatever it is that you're creating. Where that goes is, how do you get people to own your products? If you know about change management, it's very difficult to get people to change or adopt things if you just say, here, have this. But if you say, what do you think about this? How can we go there? and you engage them in being part of it, they're much more excited and much more engaged and much more likely to bring people along. And then consistency is just critical because there are so many touch points today. You just need a lot to get your message across, often many avenues. So the other thing I want to say about audiences is that there are always endemic audiences, and then there's audiences that you have to build and create. So, and I also want to caution you against, and I don't think too many people on this call would do this, but we come across people that say, well, everybody is our audience. Everybody will want our product. Well, that's just not A, not so. And B, it would be way too expensive. I'll give you an example. I handled all the communications for the September 11th fund. And when I walked into the work on the first day, the boss, the CEO, Josh Gottbaum, said, look, let's be clear about this. Everybody in the world, basically, what has been impacted by what happened here in New York City. New York City is heavily impacted, so is the entire United States. But we don't have enough money to help all of these people. So we're going to have to decide how to apportion our funds. And this is the same thinking that you should have when you're working on your product. And endemic audiences are the people who are the most likely, the most close in, the people who need you the most. We just worked on a new product for people in the yoga industry, right? And they said, but everybody needs this kind of fitness. And we said, no, there's certain people who are really heavily committed to yoga. That's your first endemic audience. Then we start emanating out. And we also use the term fish where the fish are biting, right? So you know that the fish are biting on a yoga product with people who like yoga. So enough on that. I want to say something else, which is that one of the things that Nicole and I always do when we start a project is we look at all the audiences for that project. And, you know, some of them are obvious and some aren't. Monse, who's on this call, is somebody that we've been working with. And there's a product that they have that's this incredible community of technology developers. And so we look at that product and we say, well, who is this? You know, who are the audiences for this? So obviously there's job seekers in that audience, in the tech talent, they want to get jobs. There's obviously people who want to hire these people. But what you might not think about more is that, you know, there are educators, people who want to, who are going to recommend that their students get signed up on this job board and community. There's recruiters who might look. There's partners who might need these people. So go deeply into your audiences and think them all the way through and why they're coming to you and what you're going to offer them. So working with and engaging with audiences and dissecting them, that's the next workshop. So I'm going to move on to go-to-market. And what I'm going to say about that is that, you know, it's a huge topic. Again, we're going to be dissecting it more clearly, but where do you start, you know, with this? Again, many of you are marketers, so you know the answer to this, and you start with branding. And why? And what is it, right? Well, branding is the collection of words, visuals, your pricing, your packaging, the imagery, even the smells. Nicole and I were in New York City, and we went into this perfumery. We thought it was a perfumery, but in actuality, it was a place that makes custom scents for companies. So even that and the experiences, these are all things that equal a brand. But it's not a brand until it's lodged in the minds of your consumers, right? We may all think it's a brand, but it's not a brand because nobody's standing up and saluting. So the job of you know, how do you get your branding out? Through marketing, right? So there is the marketing function is meant to deliver messages, whether they're brand messages, whether they're product messages, service messages. That's the job of marketing, right? And I think Nicole or even Linda mentioned the PESO model, which is paid, earned, social, and owned media. So what marketing does is
shared.
Shared. I said social.
Shared. Yeah, it's
Right.
okay.
It is shared, but it's social.
It's, yeah,
And shared.
interchangeable.
Right. That construct is a useful construct when you're figuring out what am I going to do and what am I going to say in each of these different channels and how am I going to make them effective. That's what marketing does. It takes these messages, it gets them out across many channels, and then it, of course, is going to measure results. I'm going to real quickly talk about sales, and here's why. It's pretty much impossible to be a successful marketer if you don't have a successful sales operation that closes the deals, right? Marketing's job is to be out there and represent the brand and the company and its offerings when people aren't, right? And to bring people into you as leads, qualified leads. But once those leads come in, they have to be converted, right, into an actual sale. So it's incredibly important to integrate and to work with the sales department on what happens. What is that process by which once you attract people to you through marketing, how is that then converted into a sale, right? So again, like the other things, we're going to talk about sales in depth, but I guess I just want to throw out this. There is B2B, B2C, and B2B2C. B2B is business to business marketing and sales. B2C is business to consumer, and B2B2C is when you have both. You have wholesale and a retail components in your marketing program. So that's all I'm going to just say. We will go into great depth on all of these. And finally, what I want to talk about is operations, which is the delivery of the products and services in regard to the marketing that we're talking about, branding and marketing. It's so important to know that what you're selling is going to be able to be delivered, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression, right? If somebody wants to buy your product and they can't, they're going somewhere else, and all that money you spent to get them is lost, right? So, I'll just give you an example. We do some work in cannabis here, and one of the things that you see in cannabis, there's a lot of new brands, and they don't think this through sometimes. And what happens? They spend a huge amount of money. People go, "Wow, I really like this product." Then they go to the dispensary to get it. It's not there. They weren't able to fulfill. They weren't able to actually get the product to market. So as a marketer, you want to make sure that you can deliver on the promises that you're making to your customers. That's what's most critical there. Again, another thing we're going to go into depth. And I want to ask Nicole, I know organizational structure and governance might not seem like marketing and branding, but it is. And Nicole's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I won't spend too much time because we'll jump right into the exercise. But just about organizational structure and governance, it's also important to consider that in the marketing journey from the standpoint of it's super important to have, a legal entity. So the legal side of the house needs to be really buttoned up. You want to keep track of contracts, especially if you're going out and raising funds. People and potential investors like to see contracts that you have with customers and or other folks that you're working with. You want to protect your IP, your intellectual property. And we actually have a dear friend who's an expert on that, and she helps women especially and gives talks on protecting your intellectual property. Not enough women are doing so for their products, their services, their service marks, all of those things. So it's really important to do that. And that is a part of marketing. You want to think about, in terms of organizational structure, employer branding. A lot of times you're needing to market your organization to attract the right talent. And so you want to think about how it is that you're marketing and communicating to external audiences to attract the right people to your organization. Yeah, and you just want to make sure that your back office is buttoned up, that you have clear communications channels between marketing and the back office. And yeah, I think that's probably enough about that.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so let's jump into an exercise because we're going to work with you. We're going to break into groups of about four or five, and Nicole and I are going to pop in and we're going to talk about these things. Nicole, do you want to go over these things for a sec?
oh, okay. I thought you were, but sure. I was just looking at the chat and what people were putting in there.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. I can do it, and you can look at the chat if you like.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk. We're going to break into these groups, and what we're going to ask you to do is to do this for yourself, for your own business, right? Your goals and your purpose, your audience, and your brand concept, right? The only one that, with the goals and purpose, it's pretty obvious, your financial and your purpose, right? In the audience, a thing that we always say, we've been saying this for years, is who are we talking to? What do we want them to know? And why should they care? If you can answer those three things, you can then you can market and you can brand, right? And then finally, the brand concept, we're going to be talking about what's different about your concept, what are the benefits, and where are you positioned? Are you a luxury? Are you value? Are you all about modern? Are you classic? And then what we'd like to do is we'd like to do this as a group in these breakouts, and then ask one of you to share your stuff and with all of us, and we can discuss what we've learned or where we might want to go and some tips about that. So how does that sound? Good? Okay.
So you can apply going through this exercise. I'm putting it in the chat that the first one is goals and purpose, second one is audience, and the third is brand concept. But you can apply this to your own business, or if you want to think through a client's business. And so what we ask is just that you take turns when we go into the breakout rooms and you start to talk through some of these elements and, write them down and have a discussion. Hey, what is your goal and purpose? And what is your financial, personal, values-based goal? And going through the line.